Okay, we're hitting record straight away on this one. There's no bullshitting before the show. We're just getting right to it because as soon as we started opening up our mouths about movies, we were like, you know what? Stop. Let's hit
Stop.
record and let's
Yeah,
go.
we gotta. There's
Okay,
too
so
much here.
let me briefly introduce our topic for tonight and what we're going to be doing. Jason and I were both, for those of you who don't know, we're both born on the exact same year, 1980. We're the
Yep.
same age. We're only a few months apart. So we grew up on all the same shit, right? Same
hmm
TV shows, same Saturday morning cartoons, same breakfast cereals, similar
Grape
music,
nuts.
not the same.
Yeah,
Uh,
dude, I love
Same
grape nuts. We
movies.
have to have a conversation about that, about breakfast
I never
foods.
liked grape nuts.
Oh, don't get me wrong. They're. I understand why most people hate grape nuts. I really
Yeah,
do. But I love I love corn nut. Like, have you ever had corn nuts?
I have had corn nuts. Yeah, they're all right.
Okay,
They're all right.
I love corn. No, I love corn nuts, particularly the ranch flavor. I like hard, crunchy things.
Mm.
But like I said, yeah, we kick cereal. We'll have to do an entire thing on
Yeah, we'll do food topics,
breakfast. Yeah,
guys.
food topics.
Those
Yeah.
food shows are coming, and I have one of my closest friends is an actual bona fide like restaurateur and chef.
Ooh,
Oh, we talking food. Oh,
excellent.
I'm gonna tell you about him after at the end of this show, Jason, because
hmm
it's a bit of a challenge to you Texans. But anyway, we'll get there.
All right.
All right. So, Jason and I, one of the things that we find that we talk about a lot is like all the old movies that we loved, right? So, I wanted to do this episode where we talk about all of our favorite movies as kids, growing up, kids and adolescents. But here's the caveat, right? We're not going to give our opinion on what we think is objectively the best movie of the 80s,
Right.
okay? We're
80s,
not
early
even
90s.
we're not even going, yeah, 80s, early 90s. And maybe some late 70s. We're
Yeah,
not going to
that's
go
fair.
too deep into our subjective favorite movies because ourselves now very different from ourselves back then. A lot of time has passed. So the question is going to be
A lot. A lot of time.
which VHS tape that you had of your favorite movie did you wear out the most as a kid? Like you just had it on repeat because you were so obsessed. Because there were a few movies, few VHS tapes. And remember, Jason, like back when we had VCRs, a lot of these movies,
Oh yeah.
you'd be so excited when they come on TV that you hit the record button and then
Oh
you
yeah.
try to pause it between the
Judge Dredd.
commercials.
Judge Dredd. I did that. I had a whole bunch of things that I just straight taped off of HBO when we had it when I was a teenager.
I taped a
hmm
whole bunch of like old school Godzilla movies like that because remember those
Oh
show up
yeah.
sometimes like Saturday or
Yes.
Sunday afternoon. They had like
Dude,
their
20.
monster feature theater.
Yeah, we used to have it was like, again, back when you had independent stations, right?
Yeah.
Channel 27, dude, they had all the best old kung fu movies, and like Godzilla flicks
Oh
and like
yeah.
the campy
That's
sci-fi.
how I was introduced to Godzilla, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I was
Uh-huh.
actually introduced to Godzilla in the from the book when I was
Um,
real little. They had
my
like a
dad.
little horror monster book.
Mhm.
Oh boy, yeah, I remember that.
There was one last drive-in sort of like South Dallas. My dad
Hmm.
would take us out there to like see things when, like he was a huge monster fan and stuff like that. So yeah, like I got to see all, like, anytime they had a Godzilla flick, anytime there was a Harryhausen flick, right? Like we were there.
Hmm.
Like that's where all that comes from for me. But yeah,
Uh,
Channel 27, man, that's where I learned about Channel 27 is where I got where I first learned about Mystery Science Theater 3000,
mhm.
Godzilla flicks. But yeah, again, back to your point though, VHS that had 2 or 3 movies on it that you would record it, or
Oh yeah,
television
some
shows.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And remember, sometimes you maybe didn't catch it in time, but sometimes there would be like one commercial, like the first half of a commercial, and
Yeah,
then you get all the
exactly.
track lines,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
then and then the movie resumes. So yeah,
Yes.
I've recorded a lot of my favorite movies like
hmm
that. Either that, or you would go to the video rental store, and as a kid, that
I'm
was an
not saying
exciting
I haven't
time.
pirated a few. I'm not saying I didn't pirate a few movies in my day, but I
But
did.
that was an exciting time
It
as a kid,
was. Oh,
going up and down. Yeah.
dude. again, my Blockbuster, we had a little bit of an anime section, and so like that's where I was like, outside of so like the Macross stuff. Robotech did come on television,
Hmm.
so that's where. But I was like, what is this? I need more of this. That's where I was introduced to anime,
Robotech.
and then oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh man, I
and
remember the first time I saw Robotech. I was like, I need more, please.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap! Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some Transformers and GI Joe. Allusion there to what's going to happen later on. But then I saw Robotech, and I'm like, well, holy crap! I need this in my life. I need a lot of this in my life. And so yeah, I mean, dude, the video stores. Oh, Albertsons used to like grocery stores used to have movie sections
Oh, I
where you
remember
could rent
that. They
movies.
had that
Yeah,
little movie corner.
yeah,
And yeah,
and
you
you'd
would
go
like
in and
get your groceries, rent a movie for the night.
yeah, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about those. I still remember those Ma and Pa video rental stores. Remember those
Yeah.
back in the day?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those were the
Man,
best.
yeah, those were awesome. Next to the toy store, those were like my favorite places to go as a kid. And that and the arcade.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, the arcade
Arcade was
was
heaven.
that was it. Like it
That was
didn't get
heaven.
any better than the arcades in the 80s. It really didn't.
It didn't.
Mo-
So, yeah.
Remember when they got the Moonwalker? Okay, I know this is a complete distraction from the topic, but you remember the Moonwalker arcade game from the
Was,
Michael Jackson
was that based off the
Moonwalker thing?
Genesis game? I think
Well,
it was
no, the
based off the
Genesis game.
Genesis game.
It was the same thing. It was the same thing. It was
Yeah.
they did an arcade version of it.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah, I remember that came out, and you remember that they used to play music videos in the arcade.
Music videos.
Oh yeah, like they would have like televisions, and they would play an actual like they would play music videos. It depended on it did depend. Like this one was one of the larger ones at the mall in Redbird. We used to call it, well, it used to be called Redbird Mall. Then it was Southwest Center Mall when I got too old to care, and then now it's something I don't even know what they're doing to it anymore. And bookstores.
How,
Remember when bookstores were cool?
oh yeah, yeah. When they had cool bookstores.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how badly did your young mind melt the first time you laid eyes on the 4-player Ninja Turtles arcade machine?
Dude, I lost my crap.
You lost your mind, right?
I lost my damn mind when I saw that. The only thing that was as good as that in my head was, if not better, was the X-Men video game that was
Oh, with
based
the
off.
6 players?
Yeah, that was based off that one cartoon
Yeah.
pilot that they made, and
Yeah.
why? And that needs to be an honorable mention on this list because, dude, I loved that little 30-minute cartoon. It was my favorite thing. It's my
The
favorite
X-Men
thing in the whole
cartoon?
damn world. Yeah, that
Oh,
well,
yeah.
the pride of it was the pride of the X-Men where Kitty Pryde becomes an X-Man, and it was like a
The original
pilot.
cartoon? Dude, everyone was all
Yeah.
about the original. When the original cartoon was airing, that's all me and my friends could talk about. Like, yo, did you watch last episode? Did you watch the last episode? We must
Well,
have
that's
been how old, right?
that was like the 90. No, that was like the 90s version. I'm talking about in the 80s. They had a cartoon in the 80s. It was Nightcrawler,
Oh,
Wolverine in the brown costume,
the old
Cyclops,
one.
the old one.
Yeah,
Dude, it was
no.
just yeah,
Yeah.
no, dude, that was like the best thing. And then I saw, and that video arcade game was like my favorite thing. But the Ninja Turtles one is just the same game, but with the Ninja Turtles instead of the X-Men.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And that came first.
Yeah.
Because the Ninja Turtles really kicked it off with that style of game. You know, because then you had Simpsons come out. But I think Simpsons probably came out the same time as X-Men.
Well, hold on. No. Actually, I think the X-Men that arcade game came out before.
They must have come around the same time.
Yeah, they were similar times. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah.
But I think
that was like
X-Men
the
came out
golden age
first.
of video arcades.
Yep. Oh, did you ever play the Avengers video game where they had? Yeah.
Where they had like it was Captain America, Hawkeye, Iron Man, and Vision.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
remember the Spider-Man arcade game?
Yes, I do.
I forgot who else you could. It was like Spider-Man. You could play as Black Cat.
Yeah,
And then they had like
Spider-Man. Black
Namor, which was random.
Yeah, it was a really random thing. Okay, so that one came out in 1992. And when was the Ninja Turtles
I'll tell
arcade?
you what is a
Because the thing is the NES game came out earlier. That was a frustratingly
oh
okay.
yeah.
Never mind. Yeah. It's yeah 1989. Never mind. Yeah, the Turtles did come first. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. So yeah. Anyway, I swore the X-Men came out first, but yeah, it was the Turtles. That yeah that dude. I love that game.
I love that game. I
Again,
would just
Donatello
look at
was
the
always my
arcade
favorite.
cabinet and just like behold its magnificence. Remember that
Yeah,
cheesy photo of like April O'Neil on the side?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a real chick, and there's a real dude dressed as Shredder
Yeah.
in a cheesy costume, and then the turtles are they don't even look like the cartoon versions per se. Like it is the cartoon version, but they're not people in costumes or anything like that. They're art, but it's like this cheesy, weird early. Like they didn't even do like they didn't even pay some dude with an airbrush to paint it. It was like some weird early CGI kind of stuff, like computer generated artwork or something. It's the only way I can describe it. They didn't have somebody go in and just draw it
Yeah.
or even do like an airbrush thing. It was some. I'll see if I can find an image of that arcade thing. Of course, none of this has anything to do with what we were talking about.
No. Sort of, because it's the same time period, I guess. Okay,
Right.
so then
Yeah.
let's get straight to it then. Which VHS tape, Jason McLean, do you think you wore out the most?
Okay. The most.
Yeah.
Man, if we didn't have to do it as like the most, um, that's a really, really good question. Am I getting? Hold on. I think I may have found. Yeah, here it is. I think I've got a good solid. Oh, dang it. It's a WEP file. Maybe this one will work. Man, I wish if like I was kind of seeing them as more as a not in any particular order because that would have made life
Mhm.
easier. But if okay, gun to my head, I am going to go with
Or you could pick 2 or 3. How about that? Just to make it
okay. So
easier.
well, so I'm having to cheat because we were like the top 10, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
some of these I got to put like together. But if it's one movie, one film, it's it's got to be the Goonies.
Hmm. The Goonies.
Yeah.
I did watch that a bunch too. Okay. So what was it about the Goonies that captivated you so much? A young Jason McLean.
I would have to say it's it is high it's high adventure. It's basically Indiana Jones with kids is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
But it's got humor, it's got a light tone, but it's Indiana Jones with kids. That's what it is. And I loved Gadget. The kid who would go who played Short Round and he
Hell
was in
yeah.
yep. I loved him. He was my favorite character in that whole damn movie.
Hmm.
You know, he had all these gadgets that he made with like stuff that he found, which was I loved. Um, but yeah, I think if I have to pick the one, it's Goonies. But like then right there, like where it would be like maybe that's the one that edges it out, but it's got to be between the Rocketeer and Jedi after that. Like it, but like
The
if there's one,
Rocketeer.
it's yeah.
I was pretty hyped when Rocketeer came out. I remember seeing those
Mhm.
trailers on TV, being like, "Oh man, this looks so cool." Because we didn't have too many superhero movies back then, right?
No, we didn't because a lot of this. Well, and that's sort of I think that's sort of the beauty is the superheroes we got. We got more pulp heroes, which is what the Rocketeer is. He's a pulp hero. I mean, he wasn't. He was newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The artist I forget his name who created him. He was an homage to the old pulp heroes And that's why I loved him so much. But that's why these pulp heroes were sort of like the first. They were always the first ones to get a crack at the movie theater. Shadow, Batman, Phantom, the original Captain America. Those were all old. Even Superman were the old serials. Well, then by the time the 70s roll around, early 80s, who's getting the movies? Superman, Batman, Rocketeer, Phantom, Shadow.
Yeah. Let
Even
me
the
ask you
Punisher.
this. Let me ask you this. What did you think of the Dick Tracy movie when it
I
came
love
out?
that movie. I still love that movie.
They had a lot of
Yeah.
marketing behind that one, man. They had like Happy Meal toys and stuff,
Mm-hmm. Well, so
and all the
here's the thing, right? Like,
characters.
yeah, the character, like, it was a movie. This is the thing I do miss about. Don't get me wrong. I like the whole sort of modern. Could this be a real world kind of take? Right. I do appreciate that. It is getting a little long in the tooth, though. But the thing that I really love about the original '89 Batman, which is obviously on the list, but again, sort of in that vein of Dick Tracy, which I burned that. I must have burned that VHS out as well. But Dick Tracy, Rocketeer, The Shadow, and The Phantom all sort of fall in that same genre of these were superhero movies. They took the subject matter seriously,
Yeah.
but they also maintained that fantasy element. Right? It's like they're like it's a friggin' comic book, right? Or comic strip that this comes out of.
But they took themselves seriously.
Yeah, they took themselves seriously, but they retained the fantasy element to it. They didn't bore you. They weren't trying to make all of it have to make sense in a real physical world. You had okay, like the Dick Tracy movie, you had Flat Top and you had all Mumbles. You had these characters that make very little sense in a real world, right?
Yeah.
Like they weren't trying to make them make sense. They're just like, look, they're cartoon characters. They're cartoon character. We know they're cartoon characters. They're cartoon characters. Even the original TMNT, it's like it's a fantasy, right? They made them again. They took it seriously, but they
All
didn't
right.
try to make it fit our universe. Like I do think that's something that we miss is that we try to make them fit our universe, realizing, guys, don't screw this up. Do you want to go to New York or do you want to go to Gotham City? Right?
Yeah.
You want to go to Chicago? Or you want to go to Metropolis? Right?
So I'll give you one of my picks for one of the movies I like wore out the VHS tape. The first Young Guns movie
Damn, that's a good one.
with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
I loved how Charlie Sheen was the preacher, he was the good Christian one, right?
Yeah.
Man, Lou Diamond Phillips, man, he was in his prime then, man.
Dude, I love
I
love me some Lou Diamond Phillips. I've never understood why he wasn't a bigger star than he is. But you put Lou Diamond Phillips on it, I'm gonna watch it. Dude, I didn't finish it. Okay, I'm not kidding when I say this. This was years ago. Jeez, this is a long time ago now. I just realized. Friend of mine and I, we were closing up. I'd just gotten back into Tidal. Like I'd started off in Tidal and then went and did some things. And I was getting back into it because, the economy. And so we were closing down. We were like always the last ones to leave. He's like, "Hey, I heard about this movie called Metal Tornado." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You got to." He's like, "I've heard that we got to." So we sat down to watch it, to watch the trailer, not the movie, the trailer. And Lou Diamond Phillips shows up, and I kid you not, he looks, he goes, "Damn it, Lou!" Just this profound sense of sadness is like, you're Lou Diamond Phillips, and you're doing Metal Tornado. Unironically, it's just, I do.
Man,
I love
that's
me some Lou
sad.
Diamond Phillips. Yeah.
I love Kiefer Sutherland in that movie too. Yeah, that was a brilliant movie. I love that movie.
I just forgot his name. Mission Impossible. He does all the running because he's high. He's running away from his homosexuality. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is actually in that movie. He's
in Young Guns.
In Young Guns, he plays an extra. He plays one of the guys who gets shot. He just wanted to be there. He just wanted to do the role. He is in Young Guns.
Okay, folks, I gotta say something, okay? Stop hating on Tom Cruise. All right? Okay, I get it. He's into some weirdness, right? And he's probably hiding from his sexuality, whatever, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The man is single-handedly in the process of saving, of wresting film from the evil clutches of Disney, okay? Let's cheer this guy on. This guy
Yes.
just came out with Top Gun 2. Okay? Jason, did you like Top Gun 2?
Dude, I love Top Gun 2. In fact, my favorite part was the fact they didn't have the sexual exploitation in the film. I was like, okay, good. He's grown up a little bit. Dude, I love Top Gun 2.
Okay.
It was,
So,
they,
yeah,
it was a straight up riff of Star Wars, but I'm here for it.
exactly. You know, and I gained, I used to be a part of the bandwagon, part of the let's make fun of Tom Cruise train, right?
Mhm.
You know when I decided to stop was in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
When Tom Cruise was in that
Yep.
movie, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I have a whole new level of respect for that man. I do. And
Yeah.
then once he started coming out with these movies, I'm like, you know what? So what if he's a part of some weird alien cult? It's all good. No one's perfect. Let the man have his hobbies.
Well, and apparently and here's the problem. Like, apparently everyone owes this man an apology, considering he was right about SSRIs. Like, again, that's a show for another time. But I'm like, hey, like, I'm right there with you. Look, as long as he's not doing adrenochrome or whatever, I'm cool with him.
Just leave
Right?
Tom Cruise alone, folks.
Let
Okay.
him give us good movies that you can sit down and watch and you can enjoy the heck out of. And they use a lot of practical effects and it works really well. He's an actual star. Have you seen a legitimately bad Tom Cruise film? I've seen Tom Cruise films I'm not a fan of, Vanilla
But they're
Sky.
never like trash,
Yeah, but they're never
right?
trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Eyes Wide Shut was a little weird,
I
but
never saw
that
Eyes
was
Wide Shut, but
that's on
that's
Kubrick.
that's more yeah, Kubrick than Tom
Yeah, that was
Cruise.
that was
Yeah,
all
that's more
on
on
Kubrick.
Kubrick. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've never seen a bad Tom Cruise film. The man knows how to pick movies. He knows how to get the best. And again, since the 90s, when he sort of became Tom Cruise and he was able to do these things. Okay, Mission Impossible 2 is not great, but it wasn't bad either. It was a John Woo flick. Like,
It wasn't
again,
bad. I thought it was
yeah.
I
That's
thought
what
it
I'm
was
saying. It wasn't bad. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not I like the later ones that he's been where he had more control. But I'm like,
Yeah.
even Mission Impossible 2 is a John Woo flick, and I'm here for it.
And the other thing I heard about, like, from multiple people in these different podcasts who like talk about like having met different celebrities and different like
Mhm.
scenarios, like real life stories. Based off what I've heard, Tom Cruise is like a really nice guy,
That's what I've heard too.
like a really nice guy.
You know who
So
I've heard is the nicest celebrity you'll ever meet? Roseanne Barr.
I told you who I heard was. I already told you that story.
Did you?
Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, Nick Cage. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard nothing but good things about Nick Cage. I've
Yeah.
heard nothing but good things about Tom Cruise. But like the people they were airline stewardesses and they did the first. They're like, look, the nicest person you will ever meet, Roseanne Barr.
Hmm.
I've heard that from a couple of people actually. Like, yeah, they're like, it doesn't get any nice. She's the nicest person you'll ever meet.
I kind of believe it.
Yeah. Oh no, I want to hang with her.
Yeah.
After this last go around, like hell
Yeah.
yeah, I want to hang out with her. But I've got some nostalgia. Her show, the original version of it. She really reminded me of my mom in a lot of ways. So anyway, moving on. So
Okay.
Young Guns.
Okay, Young
It was a
Guns.
giant chicken.
The other one the other one I probably wore out to death was Dragon the Bruce Lee story.
Oh, that is so good. Yes.
That had
Oh,
a
yeah.
great soundtrack. That soundtrack was
It
pretty
did.
epic.
It was.
I mean, you
Oh,
still
dude,
hear that soundtrack being played in other trailers.
Yeah, because it is. It is that damn good.
It's good.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I love that
Even
movie.
though it's highly inaccurate. I mean, it's inaccurate as fuck, but
Oh, yeah.
I still love it.
I love the fact. Never mind. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, you're right. It was like none of it's real, but it was
Dragon the
it was
Bruce Lee
damn
story.
good.
I loved
Yeah.
the crap. I would watch it,
Mhm.
rewind it, and start it again immediately, completely focused with my little chair pulled up to the TV with my bowl of ramen.
Yeah.
Man, I ate so many ramen
Mhm.
noodles watching that movie. God damn. I love
Is
that
that why
movie.
your skin is so good? Like, I mean, seriously, like we're the same age, and I look like I've been beaten down by reality, and you look like you're 23.
No, that's just genetics.
I was about to say,
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
genetics.
like my wife has, like, she's been watching the Amazing Attorney Woo,
Hmm.
and then of course because of that, Netflix keeps throwing Korean television shows at her, and I'm like, why are all these people stunningly beautiful? Like all of them. Like, where's the ugly Koreans?
Actually, that's a myth I do have to dispel. Ugly Koreans do exist. Trust me, I've lived in Korea for 10 years. Ugly Koreans do exist. We just do a much better job at hiding them from foreigners.
I was taking a sip, you asshole.
Yeah. We keep them hidden. We were like, oh shit, it's white people. Quick, hide the
White
uggos,
people,
hide the
quick,
uggos.
put them in the attic.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. In Korea, they shame the fuck. If you're like unattractive and ugly or like out of shape, people will shame the fuck out of you. They don't care. They'll be like, random like old ladies will just walk up to you and be like, ew, you're fat. And then just walk away, like at the bus stop. You know
I
why?
love
Do you know why
hearing
that
that.
is? You might think that's a bad thing, but guess what? We run in a tight ship here. Okay.
Yeah.
We got standards, unlike some of you Americans. Okay.
You know what?
We
It
got
works for you.
standards. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? South Korea has the largest church in Christian church in the world. You're finally getting
Mhm.
some missionaries out. I'm just saying, y'all picked up where we dropped off. Like we got fat and happy and lazy, and South Korea's picking up the slack, man.
Yeah, it's just like,
It's working.
oh, here's BTS. You're welcome, world. You're welcome. Here's a little gift from the universe, BTS. Just a bonus.
KDA. And I know KDA is not a real thing, but it kind of actually is, and that's still, again, dude. K-pop's good. I've always said I like K-pop. I really do. I hate the fact that I like K-pop because I don't understand half the words, but it's like it's damn good. I can't argue this. I can't. Again, I did Taekwondo, which is a Korean style. Like,
Oh, speaking of which,
yeah.
another movie that I loved back in the day, not
Mhm.
because it was particularly good, but because, I was as a Korean boy, as a young Korean boy growing up in the States, I could
Mhm.
identify with this. Best of the Best.
Okay, I can see that.
Remember
Yeah,
Best of the
you're right.
Best?
Not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie either. Yeah.
I love me some Best of the Best because it was like the first
Yeah.
80s action movie where it's like a Korean American guy who's the main hero.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, you're
Yeah.
100% correct. But since we're on the idea of Asian films, one movie I guess not really an Asian film per se, but one VHS that I wore the absolute hell out of, and I still watch that damn movie. It's great. Big Trouble in Little China. You mean
That-
oil? No, I mean the black blood of the earth
you're talking about probably one of the greatest movies of all time.
of all time.
Of
Like,
all
I'm
time.
sorry,
Of all time.
it's good. It's amazing. It's a great movie. It really is.
Yeah. That was his Mona Lisa. That was his
Yeah,
Sistine Chapel.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry, Kurt Russell. If you did nothing else after that, like, it's like everyone's like, "What's your favorite Kurt Russell movie?" Straight up, it is
Big
Big
Trouble
Trouble
in
in
Little
Little China.
China. That goes without say.
Yeah,
How can you pick anything else even close to that?
you, look, I love The Thing, or John Carpenter's The Thing.
Hmm.
I love that. I love me some Escape from New York. Escape from LA is the worst pile of crap that has ever been dumped on humanity. But I'm sorry, and again, uh, what was it? Executive Decision or something like that, where him and Steven Seagal were in the same movie, but
Oh yeah. They
Steven
killed they
Seagal gets
killed off
killed.
Steven Seagal real quick because nobody liked him
Yeah.
on the set. Yeah.
Oh, Tango and Cash. He's brilliant in Tango and Cash. But I'm sorry, Big Trouble in Little China
Big Trouble in Little
is
China.
is the best movie he's ever made. It's the best movie he will ever make because it's just so damn good. It's
It's one of the best movies ever made.
you know what? I'll go
That
with
movie
you.
never
I really
gets
do.
old. It never gets old. Like I even saw it
Yeah.
recently and I'm like, God damn, this movie has not aged a day.
Not a day. I watched it with the kids like last year. I'm like, no, y'all have to see this movie. Like there are things you need to see to be a full adult in America. This is one of them. it is a brilliant damn movie. There's no fat on that film at all,
Not at all. Not at all.
because it's like, what do you can't remove anything from that film. Like most films, I'm like, okay, you can take this part out, or you can take this part out and you're fine, right? You could trim 10-15 minutes off this film. It'd probably even be better. In fact, uh I don't, again, not to derail, but like Sound of Freedom, I thought it was great, but even I'm like, okay, there's one scene that you really needed to use uh
Hmm.
the wife, and Better's like, this was her moment, you should need to have this moment, and y'all kind of, I know why you did that, but you should have actually done with what really happened. But like there's like this last section where I'm like, I don't know, I get why you did it, I love that you did it, it's a great action piece, but at the same time, if you didn't have that in there, I don't know that it hurts the film, right? So it's not, but so my point is, you can have a really solid movie but still remove like 10-15 minutes of it, and maybe even make it better, or make it as good. You can't cut anything at
Hmm.
all in Big Trouble in Little China. In fact, if it was 15 minutes longer, I wouldn't care. If there was a 3-hour cut of that movie, I don't know that I would care.
Without Big Trouble in Little China, we don't get Mortal Kombat. Mortal
100%.
Kombat does not exist without that
Yep.
movie.
No, yeah, I think they even said that in an interview, right?
No, they straight up flat out
That's what I'm
said
saying.
that's
Yeah,
where
they
we
said it.
got the idea of Raiden. That's where we
Yeah.
got most of our ideas. That's where they got the idea of Shang Tsung.
Hmm.
That's where they got most of their. Some of the stages were even modeled after some of the sets in that
Oh, you're
movie.
right. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, they
Yeah,
flat
you
out
Liu Kang.
said
Yeah.
Big Trouble in Little
Yeah.
China. If that movie had not come out, Mortal Kombat would not exist.
No,
So
I remember hearing that
yeah.
or reading that in an article way back in the day, way back in the day. But yeah, I mean, it is a perfect film, and it's funny, it's action packed, it's interesting, it makes you think a little bit. Not anything too heavy. It does what a movie's supposed to do: entertain you. And because they had to use practical effects for virtually everything, um, except for the lightning, it's like it was, again, the problem with CGI is that because you can do anything, everyone's trying to do anything, and
Hmm.
it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And the problem, and this is okay. It's a derailment. It comes right back to this movie. There are some, if you have a bad story, like good art can make a weak story better,
Hmm.
like in a comic book. But there are some times where it's like, no matter how good the artwork is, you're like, this is a lame story. Like,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter that you've got this brilliant artist working. This is a terrible story. And oftentimes it's because the writers are just trying to do, instead of saying, I need to keep it within certain parameters, right? That's what's really going on in the industry right now. That's why everything just absolutely sucks donkey dong. But that movie, because they had the limitations of practical effects, again, all the movies that I mentioned before, which are my sort of co-equal with like the Rocketeer,
Hmm.
the Shadow and the Phantom, right?
Yeah.
And even to a point, the original Batman, because, and you can even say this for the um, for the old Star Wars films, because they had those limitations, they had to be creative. Because that movie, you had to have practical effects, practical sets. People had to actually be able to perform those stunts. They had to think about how to shoot them, how to stage them, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. Also, another thing that has to be said about that movie, Kurt Russell's character in that movie, Big Trouble in Little China, is like the most perfectly written action
Yes.
hero because he's also kind of a doofus and a goof. He's
Hmm.
he's also like the butt of the jokes a lot
Yeah.
of the times.
Yes, he absolutely is.
So he's not like portrayed as, like a Superman, right?
Yeah.
He's still a
Yeah.
hero and he still wins the day. He still beats the bad guy, but and he still gets the girl, but he's also a goofball,
Yeah.
right? And he's a
Oh,
fuck up.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And half the jokes are about him or at
Yeah.
his expense.
And some of the dialogue he had, man, like he was just like a hilarious, like you just want to listen to him talk, but then you also want to
Yes.
watch him fight, right? He's the perfectly written action hero. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, they don't write action heroes like that anymore at all.
No, they don't. And
They
and the
really
thing
don't.
is, and here's the thing, like the thing about this, about sidekicks, and the movie gets really, really right. the thing about a sidekick is if you do it right, a sidekick gives you the emotional pathos of the film. This is
Mm.
what people miss about
Mhm.
action films is
Mhm.
okay, I know this sounds really again because nothing I ever say is on point originally, but give me a second on this.
And we're
Have you
talking
ever
about the
seen
Asian dude. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah,
his
the Asian
name.
dude?
Yeah.
I can't remember it
I'm gonna
either.
look it up real quick while you
But Joe,
speak.
I'm
Go
bad
ahead.
with yeah, I'm bad with names. Um, did
Oh,
you ever see the
Wang.
original
Wang.
Wang?
Yeah.
Yes, Wang Chung tonight. But have you ever seen the original Gunsmoke, the
No.
old western? Okay, Marshall Dillon is the least interesting character in that show. Straight up, he is the least interesting character because he is the point of. In many ways, he's the point of view of the viewer. All of the action, like that show ran for like 20 years. It's nuts how long
Mhm.
that show ran. The reason it worked was because he was a he was your touchstone. He was less he wasn't necessarily the most interesting character. He was a dull character, all things considered. But what he does is he's the thing who allows the rest of the drama to occur. A good sidekick in a film allows you again, he allows the emotional pathos when he's done correctly to really resonate
Mhm.
with a character. Like again, like you said, Kurt Russell's character doesn't come off as a Superman because he is the a lot of the jokes are at his expense because he does screw up, right?
Yeah.
That's but they
Yeah,
don't have
because
to make
Wang is kind of like the
Superman grumpy.
emotional center of that movie because it's all
He
about
absolutely
him
is.
trying to find, his green-eyed woman, right?
Yeah,
And
what's her name? Um,
and then Samantha from Sex and the City.
yeah, back when she was attractive.
Oh, by the way, okay, can I make I'm gonna confess something here.
Please do.
And this is not a joke. I'm actually 100% gonna be honest here.
Hmm.
Uh, I've watched like every single episode of Sex and the City, like probably like 6 or 7 times. And I'm not shitting you, man. I used to be like pretty deep into Sex and the City. Well, it was because when I was living in Korea, like my
Hmm.
ex-girlfriend at the time, she was obsessed with it, and then we would just sit there and just watch it all day. And then yeah, later, like every girl I dated in Korea was all about Sex and the City, and we would just sit there and watch Sex and the City, and they would be so impressed because I would know like all the characters and all the backstories, and they'd be like, "You really know Sex and the City?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've watched every episode like 5 times." So I would get all up about like
I
Samantha
understand.
and yeah.
I understand. I so
But I
here's the
actually
thing.
kind of started to like that show though.
Get it.
I became a fan,
See,
like
that's my
a
problem.
hidden
That's my
fan.
problem. It's
It
one
was like
thing
a
to do
guilty pleasure.
reconnaissance, right? Well, it's one thing to do reconnaissance for the chicks, right? I get
Yeah.
that. But you started to like it. That's my problem. That's where I'm.
But you know what? The whole time when I saw Samantha, I was like, "Yo, that's the chick from Big Trouble in Little China."
Which is the only saving grace. That's why I'm
Yeah.
not. I haven't pulled your man card entirely. Again,
By
you
the
have
way,
two
speaking
legitimate
of which,
caveats.
okay, another 80s
Mhm.
movie that I think is in the same vein as Big Trouble in Little China that I feel
Okay.
like across the board is near perfection and it still holds up to this day. The
Okay.
original RoboCop.
Oh hell yeah! No, absolutely.
Yeah.
The only reason
That was
RoboCop
yeah.
isn't on this list is because we were going for a more kid thing. But yeah, like, dude, I'm
No,
sorry. The
as a
original
kid,
RoboCop
I was
is
freaking
freaking
obsessed with
brilliant.
RoboCop as a kid.
Okay, RoboCop again. RoboCop, Predator, the original Terminator. Those three are they are the holy trilogy of sci-fi action films.
And Aliens.
Alien, no, Alien is a horror film.
Aliens. That's why I said
Alien
Aliens.
Aliens is a war film, not
Yeah.
an action. It's a war film.
Hmm.
I would argue you could make the argument that Predator, the first one, definitely is a horror film more than a action film. But
I'd say
I'll
it's a
give
horror. It's a war/horror film.
I would go horror action, sci-fi horror action for
Mhm.
Predator versus like Aliens is a war film. Like that's straight up what that is. It's a sci-fi war film, but action, like straight up like an action film where you have I know I'm parsing hairs. I'm just saying I'll allow Aliens because it's good, but I'm sorry, Predator and yeah, RoboCop and Terminator. Those are just straight up. You can even
Also,
argue that Terminator is a horror film.
the first one, yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
I know people like to bag on RoboCop 2 and Predator 2, but I like those movies.
Dude, those are still solid films. RoboCop 3 is an entirely
RoboCop 3 is a different
conversation.
story. No, RoboCop 3 is a different story.
Entirely different conversation. Yeah. RoboCop 2 is still a solid film.
I love me some RoboCop 2. Kane, come on, man. And he smashes his brain at the end.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. That's as good a film. Now, again,
And
it's not as good as
honestly,
RoboCop, but it's still a great movie.
RoboCop 2 was kind of fucked up because it was like one of the few movies that actually shows a kid getting killed. That 12-year-old gangster kid. But you know what?
Yeah.
That kid had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw that kid. He was evil as hell. He shot RoboCop right into computer eye with a freaking deagle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
little shit
kid, but he was like, it's sometimes they just got to go. But yeah, that's the only reason I don't have like RoboCop. Well, again, but I think the only reason I don't have RoboCop and all that on this list is because they're almost gimmies, and I kind of wanted to stray towards the younger. Like, I don't have Mask of Zorro on here because I'm like, well, they came out a little bit later, right? I think by the time I'm driving, I kind of drew the line there for me. Because but as far as VHS, dude, Mask of Zorro is freaking brilliant. The original Blade, I own that on VHS.
The original Blade, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a late adopter to stuff. I literally had a VCR DVD player up until the last couple of years.
Okay, how about this? Let me twist your noodle with this question here, Jason McLean. Right. In this time period, right? 80s, early 90s, perhaps late 70s, your favorite animated movie?
Okay, well, that's a toss-up between Transformers and G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's so many good animated films, like the original Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I like those.
Wizards, dude. You want a movie that really works as an adult? Wizards. Okay, but I'm sorry. As a kid, it's the Transformers movie and G.I. Joe movie, and I will put them together with Transformers being on top. But I'm sorry, Optimus Prime friggin' dying, Duke nearly, falling into a coma.
No, you know what my favorite I'll tell you what my favorite part about G.I. Joe the movie was. This was one of like the most happiest moments of my childhood when I actually saw it. Okay. I remember the day I was at my friend's house, we were all gathered around watching this moment, and I literally jumped out of my chair, pumping my fist. Literally.
All right.
It was the scene where Sergeant Slaughter beat the fuck out of Serpentor.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Because Serpentor, keep in mind, he's the creepy motherfucker of Cobra, right? Cobra is this military unit, right? This military organization where they have a Cobra emblem, right? Maybe Cobra Commander kind of talks a little snake-like, but at the end of the day, snakes are their mascot. They're a bunch of soldiers or mercenaries or whatever. Serpentor, he's the creepy one. That creepy fuck. He's got to actually dress up as a snake.
Yeah.
He's probably all wearing latex, that perv.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was genetically engineered from the greatest warriors and tyrants of all time. So.
And at the end of the day, who beats the fuck out of him? An actual WWF wrestler, Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter. Yep. He
was the best. I love that scene.
Yeah, I love you some Sergeant Slaughter.
I remember he was like, "This is for America," and then he elbow drops him. He elbow dropped this creepy ass pervy dude dressed up like a snake, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck that guy." Yeah, for America.
Like, don't get me wrong.
I love that
I love
scene.
Me some Duke. I loved all of them. I was obviously a I just forgot his name. Snake Eyes. I was always a Snake Eyes fan, but yeah, Sergeant Slaughter was a good close second for me. Like you said, because he was a real real WWE character. He was just a lot of fun, dude. He was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm sorry, all those characters were fun. I hate it when people are like, "Oh, I don't like G.I. Joe because Roadblock was it's like, I don't like those 80s shows because Roadblock was a stereotype." I'm like, do you not pay attention? Everyone's a stereotype in that
Everyone's
film.
A stereotype. In that show.
Everyone's a stereotype. Every single character was
hello, Mr. T is a walking stereotype.
Yeah. Duke's a stereotype. the guy who was the Navy guy, who he literally dressed like he was a sailor from World War II and
Well,
had a friggin' pirate.
I mean, fuck, Short Round's a stereotype.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to Big Trouble in Little China, Kurt Russell's a stereotype.
Yeah.
All these characters are stereotypes. That's the thing. All of them are. That's the thing people don't get, is that, again, as long as it's not a negative stereotype, the whole point is to let you know of these stereotypes. It's like, okay, that's who that is. Why is it the blonde is always ditzy? Why is it the redhead is always the fun, fiery one? They're stereotypes for a reason. The cowboy who was always in the helicopter. All these characters were stereotypes.
Yeah.
All of them.
Speaking of which, can I tell you about the other movie I wore out to death? The other VHS tape that I had, and I remember this one being recorded because I completely didn't even get the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Oh no.
Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I watched the shit out of that movie, man.
Yeah.
Bloodsport. And speaking of stereotypes, that movie had a whole lot of stereotypes.
Whole lot.
Yo, remember that African dude that fought like an actual monkey?
Yes.
And he would actually crawl around like a monkey, and this dude was from Africa, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is so racist.
Yep.
It's so fucked up. Man, I couldn't believe, when I think back on it, I'm like, how did they get away with that?
Austrian and Asians, dude. Let's be honest. That's what it is.
Shit.
Dude, it was, yeah. You're right. Thinking back, because again, it's been a while since I've seen it. You're right. That's pretty damn bad.
You remember the character, right? He eventually got beat by the sumo wrestler.
I had forgotten about that, but you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
as soon as you said, I'm like,
around like a
holy
monkey.
crap, you're right. Yeah, no, yeah, that's
fucked up, man. I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty messed up.
You don't have to think about it for long. Like I said, I had completely forgotten about it. I haven't seen the movie in 25 years.
God damn, I love me some Van Damme back in the day.
Oh, dude, classic Van Damme. Hard
man.
Target. You know my favorite Van Damme film? Hard Target.
Hard Target was up there for me. It was also up there for me as well. Because that was John Woo as well. John Woo and Jean-Claude Van Damme together.
John Woo, Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's got a mullet.
He's got a mullet.
Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
And also, it's the only movie where his accent kind of makes sense, because it takes place in Louisiana. And he's supposed to be all Creole.
Right. So he pretends to have a Creole.
And I'm like, well, at least they try to explain it, you know? Yeah.
Unlike what's his face? Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they never explain why he has this accent. And it's like, wait, aren't you you're an American soldier?
Well, no, okay, let's go through it. Okay. So Conan the Barbarian, it makes sense because it's a distant land, right?
Right, yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Terminator, it kind of makes sense because it's like an awkward robot, and maybe that's like the one thing I'm kind of stretching it there.
I'll give it to you that his accent isn't an issue.
Okay.
In that movie, yes.
Twins, it makes sense because he grew up isolated on an island, raised by some German dude. So that makes sense.
They explain it there. Yeah, they explain it there. But what I'm saying is but Predator,
Predator makes no sense.
Commando
made absolutely no sense.
I mean, like half the films were
Kindergarten Cop made sense. They actually explain it. He's like, yeah, I'm from Austria. Okay, you get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have to find so he immigrated and he's a cop. Okay, that's workable. Again,
that's workable.
Really. I'm just saying that a lot of his bigger movies.
Oh no! Do you know what the worst one was? Was that one where he was like a Russian?
Oh yeah,
a Raw Deal. No, was it Raw? No, not Raw Deal is even worse too, because he's just an American guy in that one. It was like Red something. It was like Red.
Yeah, they gave him.
You know what I'm talking about?
Name. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He played a Russian guy, and I'm like, dude, you got an Austrian accent. Do people in the '80s not know the difference?
Well, it's like, why is it anytime there's a German or a German or Russian, they always have British accents? I know the movie you're talking about. It had Belushi in it, right?
Yeah,
it was Jim Belushi. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
god, I'm
I
looking
rem
it up right now. I can't
yeah.
let this go. I can't let this
While you look
go.
that up, as far as things that are terrible, the art on, Teenage
Oh,
Mutant
yeah,
Ninja
there we
Turtles,
go. Yeah, I remember that. That looks airbrushed kinda.
it kinda does, but that's what I'm saying, like, it was like this
Yeah,
weird early
look at
CGI.
that lady playing freaking April O'Neil.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't hard on the eyes, but,
But just look at that
um
hair.
but the hair, like, well, she
That
had a perm
hair.
because so here's the funny thing, you know, there's been this big argument
Red
in
Heat, by the way. Red Heat.
Red Heat. Thank
There we
you.
go.
By the way, for every you can't really see it in this picture, but Michelangelo's bandana is yellow, not orange, straight up like canary yellow
Yeah.
in this image. Anyway, I'm just saying this, like, the artwork was, I don't know what they were doing with the turtles in this one. Like, what is happening? Like, just get somebody to draw the damn turtles. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm like the April O'Neil and the Shredder character. That costume for the Shredder was terrible, but it's like fine. But yeah, they gave her like a weird perm. Anyway,
Mm.
probably because of the movie. Now that I think about it, they were probably doing that for the, like, it's based on the cartoon. That's, but when they did the art, they're like, okay, well, she's gonna have a perm sort of curly hair in the film. We'll just get an actress to.
You know, what other movie I really loved that, I kinda wanna watch again just to see how well it holds up? The
Okay.
Burbs.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Remember The Burbs
Yeah.
with Tom Hanks
Was
and
that?
freaking Princess Leia? And
Yeah, I
they
forgot
play
about
like
that.
it's all like they play like these paranoid neighbors, and it
Hmm.
gets all conspiratorial. I wanna watch
Yeah,
that again, man.
I haven't seen that
I
movie in
haven't seen that
30
movie in a
years,
long
but you're
time.
right. That could hold up. Speaking of movies that do hold up, okay, and again, since we were just talking about this, the original TMNT movie,
That was the other one that I wore out to death.
wore out.
Wore it
I'm
out.
sorry, it still holds up. I think I just watched
It
it.
still holds
I
up.
watched it a while back.
It's the
Yeah,
only one that holds up, actually.
yeah, it absolutely holds up. And again, if there was any, like, this one may have actually been, like, now that I think about it, this one may, like, again, Goonies or this one. Again, just, man, I'm sorry, but the TMNT, like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was just like, there's, again, like Big Trouble in Little China, there is no fat on that movie. There's no fat there.
There's no fat. Yo, even
Every
Casey
scene,
Jones,
yeah,
they did Casey Jones right.
yeah,
Like, and he
he,
was kinda like Kurt Russell's character in Big Trouble in Little China, if you
yes,
think about it, because he was also sometimes the butt of the joke.
yeah, that's
But
exactly what he
his
was.
fight scene with Raphael is one of the most badass parts of that whole movie.
Oh yeah, a Jose Canseco bat. Tell me you didn't pay money for this. I love the fact that they actually had like New York accents on half for Raphael.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have this. They didn't do the whole Midwestern accent like most people do. Again, when I'm sorry, the scene when they're at April's they're in April's apartment and he sees the Foot Clan going after Raphael, and he's like, "Oh, I need to go see this." Well, he sees Raphael, and he goes, and then by the time he gets there, the Foot has attacked him, and he just walks in. And he's like, "What are you doing with my little green pal there?" And it just goes down. It just goes down. Like, don't get me wrong, like the turtles were
That
holding
movie
their own,
works on so many levels. Like, the more you
but
think about it, the more
yeah,
genius it is. Because, okay, do you know why it worked for us so well? Was because when they portrayed the Foot Clan, remember how they would lure in like all these young new recruits, and then when you
choosers their
saw
credit
their
card moves.
hideout, it looked like the
Mm-hmm.
freaking paradise. They had arcade
Mm-hmm.
games, skateboard ramps, pool tables. All the
Cigarettes.
kids were smoking cigarettes. And as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
you're watching this, and you're like, "Yo, I could see myself joining this." You know?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like again, there's no fat on it, and it's so well thought out. Because again, at this point, you have to, like, they were pulling heavily from the Mirage comics,
Yeah.
and the idea where it's like, hey, how do you get a bunch of wayward teens to like? How do you build an army of criminals? You get a bunch of kids. Again, it's like it's a gang. That's what it is. It's like, hey, I'm gonna give you Pleasure Island, like from Pinocchio. It's anything you want to do as a kid. You want to do. In fact, that is literally the sales pitch. Anything you want to do, do.
Hmm.
Got some menthols, or you got cigarettes? Menthols are filtered. You know, like yeah,
I have one only one complaint about that movie. Only one.
okay,
I didn't like how Shredder got at the end. I was
Oh,
expecting more than that, right? Because remember the
mhm,
final fight scene where all the turtles, right? They
mhm,
try to fight. They try to fuck with Shredder. They go up one
yeah,
on one, and Shredder just no sells them.
yeah.
He beats them up easily, right? And then finally Splinter comes out, and that's when Shredder's like shook. He's like, "You did this to me.
Yeah.
You scratched my face." And then he charges him and then falls off the fucking roof. This guy who just
Mhm.
handed the Ninja Turtles their ass
He doesn't fall. That's
so
the thing is
effortlessly.
but that's kind of the point is that it is Splinter. He is the master, and it's saying, yeah, come on, do it. And he just tricks him. He's like, he just uses the nunchucks
See,
and
I
just
was
takes him and
disappointed.
flips him.
I wanted to see like a fight scene between Splinter and Shredder
Well, the
finally.
technology
I
was
feel
never
like we
going to
weren't.
allow for that.
Yeah, I get it, there were limitations, but I'm just like it kind of disappointed me at the end.
Well, okay, so I get where you're coming from, and I think it is valid to the point that the technology just did not exist for them to do it. But here's the
Yeah.
thing: I will say this though, because we have had the splint now that we've had CGI, that we've had the Shredder, where it's like he's flipping and doing all the weird stuff, the Yoda from episode 2 crap. I like it better where he's like, again, because it's like, yeah, you're right. You guys have weapons. You're fighting him. You're going toe to toe. I'm going to outthink him, and I'm gonna put you in a situation because here's the thing: Splinter doesn't kill him. He literally kills himself.
Yeah, he kills
It's his,
himself.
it's his own rage, and that is what I loved about how he did it was he allowed the Shredder's rage and anger to work against him. He's like, I'm not here necessarily to kill you. I ain't gonna save you, but I'm not gonna kill
I
you.
wanted to see Splinter show that he was better than him.
But he did. But that's what I'm saying. He used nunchucks. He flips him and then holds him over the edge, and he's holding on to him. He's
No,
like, look,
because you don't. So okay, so the only reason why Splinter wins then is because Shredder fucks up. He doesn't take on Shredder at his best. You see Shredder at his best when he's taking on the Ninja Turtles one at a time, and he's just whooping their asses easily, right?
yeah.
Because he spanked those boys. He
Oh, he
spanked
does,
them.
which
So
he's
I'm like,
supposed
I
to do.
want to see that Shredder, the one who's actually not about to like bull charge him off a roof. You know what I mean? I wanted to
Yeah,
see
I
that
get it.
Shredder up against
Well,
Splinter.
but that's sort of the okay. So, but this goes back to the psychology of what Splinter is doing in that moment, right? Because again, he's a thinking man's rat, right?
Mhm.
He's like, look, this can go a couple different ways. I'm just gonna make certain I win.
Hmm.
It is about that there is this high. It's like, yeah, you can sit there and throw fists, or I can just win.
Hmm.
He's smarter, and in a way, he's showing the turtles like, hey, you don't like, yeah, this is a fight, and it's between me and him, y'all. But it's because y'all were trying. You were trying to do something. One scene, by the way,
Mhm.
that they absolutely should have added in. They did film the whole thing when Shredder is before he when we're first introduced to the Shredder, when he's anointing and giving the new Foot Clan soldiers their masks and their bandanas and all that. They filmed a scene. I forget the name of the fight, but what he does is he gets down, he sits like Indian style, right, cross-legged,
Mhm.
and they attack him, and he beats them.
The Turtles?
No, the new foot soldier.
Oh, the new foot soldiers.
Yeah,
Okay.
like that was sort of the like this setup where it's like that was your initiation was he was sitting and he literally was fighting them while sitting and he
Hmm.
wipes the floor with them. And it's a real actual thing. Like it is a real thing that is done in martial
Yeah,
arts.
he's supposed to be a master martial artist.
Which again is why
Yeah.
it was to foreshadow how just like the turtles were never going to be a threat to him. They just
Yeah.
never were. Which is why Splinter does what he does. He's outthinking him. And here's the thing. He can think about it. Shredder's getting there. He's getting ready to stab him. He moves, grapples him, and throws him off the building. It's all one smooth motion. It's again, I'm not saying that the movie got me into martial arts. I'm just saying it didn't hurt. The one thing I've learned is the most effective moves are the ones where you move the least. I know I don't look like but I was mixed martial arts before mixed martial arts was cool. I used to work the bag until my knuckles bled.
Oh, so did I. I used to do
So
martial arts, so we both had
yeah.
that in common as well.
So, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, like the greatest fights, the people who know what they're doing, not like, oh well, the UFC. No, that's still sport. That is a sport. I'm talking about actual combat. The people who are the most effective things are it's over that fast. The people who know what they're doing, it is one or two moves and the person's gone. When I was teaching women's self-defense, I said, look, you're not getting it. I'm not going to train you to get into a fight. Fighting is one thing. I'm going to train you to win. I'm going to train you to survive. But it's like if you get into a fight and if you get into a fight, you're going to lose. And any conflict that lasts more than 10 seconds, you're going to lose. The best fights it's over that fast. You do dramatic, catastrophic damage. I'm like, look, you need to understand if you're using what I'm training you to do is because your life is in danger. Your job is to inflict as large and as catastrophic damage as quickly as you can so you can get out. That is what he does. He does the ultimate martial arts master thing. Messes with his mind, and then it's one move. And it's over. That is why Splinter's the master. You mess with the mind, and then you take out the body, one move.
But Shredder's supposed to be a master of the martial arts, and he's going to
also
bull rush the guy he's been waiting to fight all these years. He's going to just do a bull charge.
Him. Well, because he underestimates him. He doesn't
seem like the move of a master martial artist would take if he's finally facing his rival after no number of years.
Because it's because he's had Splinter chained up for a week. He's underestimated him. He's like, I don't need to. He's like, this is a week-old rat. I've had him chained up for a week. He's not a threat. It's the arrogance. It's the and plus it's the arrogance of I've had you this whole dang time.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Splinter was like locked up and tortured after that.
Yeah,
I mean before that. Him. Yeah, he was like tortured and shit. I forgot about that.
Like, remember the entire time.
What was that other guy's name? Tatsu or something?
Yeah, Tatsu. Yeah.
I liked how he got fucked up by Casey Jones with the golf club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That part worked. That worked.
Yep.
And when he tried to fight the turtles and be like, bitch, Tatsu, you ain't fighting the turtles. And then they just do that 4-shell smash on him and then be done with it. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It's again, I get what you're saying. I really do, but it's the
that was the only part of the movie that kind of bummed me out. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I get it. But I because I got what was happening, because again, it's the mind, and it just shows again that one smooth move and it's over. It's like that's what a master does.
Can I give you another honorable mention that I recently just thought of? I'm thinking about this show tonight. Okay. Monster Squad. Remember that movie?
Oh, dude, love that movie. Love that movie.
Man, Monster Squad.
Man. Yeah, I'll give that one an honorable mention. You know, one that you're gonna kick your butt for not thinking of yet. Last Starfighter. First movie to use CGI.
Yeah.
And it is every video game nerd's dream.
It is.
Hey, you can play video games. You can fly a starship. I'm just saying it's a good movie. It's a solid flick. Like it is the ultimate video game nerds escape fantasy. It's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wore that one out.
The other movie I wore out a lot was Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Yes.
That's when Rambo got ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of First Blood, but you're right.
No, here's the thing though. For me, I actually saw First Blood Part 2 first, not knowing about First Blood Part 1.
Yeah.
I actually saw the First Blood Part 1 like much later, which I love that movie. I love that movie. But I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, "Whoa, this is a completely different Rambo."
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when you the first Rambo film, and then you get then you get Rambo, First Blood and First Blood Part 2. They're very different films. They are, again, completely. It's like it's like thinking back on it as an adult. You're like, I see why the First Blood stuff always made it to the television, and you never saw Rambo
Yeah.
on Channel 27. I get it now. I get why, because that's I mean, great film, but that's definitely not the fun. It's like, again, it's which the other video on here, Return of the Jedi, right?
Mhm.
Return of the Jedi, you saw all the time. I wore that out. Why? Because that's the thing that's good for this. It's a fun. It's the denouement. It's the resolution of of the drama. It's but whereas, yeah, I'll objectively, Empire Strikes Back is the best of them. I'm sorry, Jedi is just a friggin' great film. It's a lot of fun, and but I get why it's the one that always got played on on the television because I'm 80
Yeah.
on TV instead of instead of the others. I get it.
Can I tell you another one that blew my mind when I first saw it back in that day?
Go
Uh,
for it.
The Stand, the miniseries.
Oh yeah, that was good. Okay, I'm
That
not
was
okay.
good.
Can I say I'm going to say something that's a little people are probably not going to get it. I do like The Green Mile, but I'm not a fan of Stephen King. I think Stephen King is overrated.
There's something to be said about his prolificness. I mean, just the fact that he's able to churn out that many books. I mean, like
Well,
something's.
you're
I
on
mean,
that much
compared to George
cocaine.
R. R. Have you seen? By the way, have you seen the interview that George R. R. Martin did with Stephen King?
No, I have
And
not.
George R. R. Martin
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, because you know about his story, like his saga, not being able
Mm-hmm.
to finish his last few
Yeah,
books. Everyone's, you know, he's so busy on his fucking football blog. And then all the
yeah,
comments on his football blog are like, "Hey, George R. R. Martin, stop talking about football and start writing your fucking book." People would be
yeah.
pissed, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
then they did a special like on stage. It was a conversation between George R. R. Martin and Stephen King. Oh God, I gotta find you this link. So George R.
All
R.
right.
Martin is talking about his
Mm-hmm.
struggles, right? Which coming out of the last book. And he's asking about Stephen King, like, Stephen, you come out with so many freaking books, right? I mean, that dude writes a lot of books,
Oh,
right?
he does. No,
Yeah.
that dude just again
And
the
and
cocaine
he
count.
and then he's talking about his and then you gotta watch this conversation, man, because at the end of the day, Stephen King's just like, yeah, I just sit down and write. It's like, do your fucking job, you fat slob.
Yeah, I could look. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Stephen King. I think he's way overrated in many ways. Okay, give me 2 seconds on this. I think he's a lot like Philip K. Dick. Everyone loves Philip K. Dick's or the movies inspired by Philip K. Dick's
Mhm.
writings. Philip K. Dick is. I'm sorry, he was a terrible author. Same thing with Stephen King. People like Stephen King because they like the movies. I know there are people who like his books, but I think it's Stockholm syndrome. I really do. I think
I've enjoyed
I'm
his
sorry.
books. I don't think he's a bad
I'm
writer.
just I I just think he's over. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's overrated. That's my thing. But that's me. Like it's
Okay.
a personal thing. I'm not going to hold it
All
against
right, we're
someone
gonna
who
go there.
likes.
Okay, let's do this argument. Okay. I actually think
Mm-hmm.
he's kind
Scratching
of underrated,
movies. About.
if I'm to be
Really?
honest. Yeah. And here's why. There are people like John Grisham, Tom Clancy. Like John
Okay.
Grisham, now that's a one-trick pony, right?
Yes, I'll
Like
give that to
those
you.
authors who just stick to that same
That
shtick.
one thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
Okay. So
And I
at
know where
least
you're going with this.
yeah,
Yeah,
but at least he tries to like, he does other stuff, not just horror.
he does. Hey, like I said, I get it. Like I understand why someone may like his work. I
Yeah.
just think he's overrated. But like Green Mile, I'm sorry, Green Mile. These are all brilliant ideas. I just think I just think
That
he's
was a
overrated
fly,
when
by
you
the
have
way. There was a fly that literally landed on my lens. That was crazy. That was a
that's
sign.
it's a sign. It's time to wrap it up. Okay, my last two are I'm going to put as one. Like they're not. I can't even make one an honorable mention. Like they both are equal in
Mhm.
this as far as videos that I wore out. Tron and Black Hole.
I never saw Black Hole.
Really,
Never saw it.
dude, it still holds up. You want to talk about a movie? It's a movie that still holds up. It is. Disney went through this
This
little
was Disney?
weird. This was Disney. Disney went through this like it was after Star Wars. Like
Oh.
we got to do sci-fi stuff,
No,
and so
back
they
then
dropped
Disney
a
was like a niche, just it was niche, right?
Mhm.
It was just kid stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what it was back
That's what it
before they
was.
got back before they started draining children of their life essence. So they're like, okay, we want to do sci-fi movies, and they dropped a ton of money on these movies. Like Tron, the reason we didn't get a Tron 2 is because it was so damn expensive to make with the process of the film and all that.
I thought we did get a Tron too.
Well, we did like 30 years later.
Yeah.
It was 2008,
Was that
2009.
movie any good? I barely remember. I remember seeing it, but I'm like, I don't
It was
remember
good.
that movie.
It was okay. Like I mean, it was a Tron 2. I will
Mhm.
say this though, they had a CGI television series
Mhm.
right after that was way better. Like it was Tron 2 was good, but the problem is it's a silly idea, right? It is.
Yeah.
Which is why the I like the cartoon better. It was Uprising or something like that. Anyway, that was good. They had Bruce Boxleitner returning as Tron,
Mm.
as the voice of Tron. And I love me some Bruce Boxleitner of Babylon 5 fame. But again, Tron, Black Hole, both brilliant. But Disney dropped a ton of cash on these movies, but they didn't get the return they wanted, so they stopped doing them. I'm just saying, Black Hole, go watch it. It is worth watching
I'm gonna have to check
as
that
a
one
film.
out. Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, and the thing I love is it has, and to a certain degree, it is still kind of hard sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
Like, mhm.
I'll tell you the one Disney movie I wore out, like I wore out the VHS, and I probably wore out this one out pretty hard. The Sword into Stone.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. That they call them. I think they
With
call them the
Merlin,
Dark Ages. Yeah, but yeah, I get that.
Archimedes. Man, I watched the crap out of that one, man.
As good as that is, it doesn't. It pales in comparison to my love of the Robin Hood that they did.
Oh, the Fox one?
Yeah.
Okay, for a second I thought you were talking about the Kevin Costner one.
Okay, dang it! Now that you mention it, dude, I wore the Kevin Costner version out like that.
Really?
That VH. No, dude,
I
I
did
love
watch
that
that
movie.
quite a bit. I actually did enjoy the movie. Okay,
Mhm.
so when it came out, I enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
as I got older, I started thinking about it. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Why the fuck is Kevin Costner speaking with an American accent?
Yeah, he doesn't even try.
What? You didn't
No
even
one in that film,
try.
no one even tries to
No
have
one
an
even
accent in that film.
tried.
But here's the thing. So hold on. Except for Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's the only one who tries to have an accent. But here's the thing. I kind of appreciate that because the modern British accent is actually not the accent they used back then.
I actually looked it up, and apparently Kevin Costner was going to do a British accent. Like
Mhm.
he was fully intent on doing it. So I mean, the directors, I guess, told him
Yeah.
not to do it. Apparently, I don't know.
Well, how weird it would be if everyone had a fake British accent. I kind of appreciate the fact that they were like, screw it, no accents. Just everyone knows you're Kevin Costner. Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, who was my childhood crush, outside of Phoebe Cates. I'm sorry, like the fact they don't do the accents, I think actually does benefit the film overall.
Hmm.
But it's again, I love that. I really should have put that movie on my list now that I think about it. But yeah, as far as Disney cartoons from that era, Robin Hood was my favorite. But you're right. I mean, that Kevin Costner Robin Hood was friggin' brilliant. I still love that movie. That's one of those movies that holds up. Like once you get past the whole accent thing, when you're like, oh, I get what they're doing. They're not, when it's like I'm sorry. Where does it fail? Where does that fail? I know we're past the 10 at this point, but another honorable mention: Young Sherlock Holmes.
Never saw that one.
Okay, I haven't watched it recently, so I need to probably sit down with the kids and watch it. it holds up. I think I'll watch it. We need to watch it and talk about that one because I think it again. It's Steven Spielberg, and obviously they're taking all kinds of liberties, like just all the liberties with the whole Sherlock Holmes thing. Um, because if you read the books, you know that Watson. The reason they meet is because Watson was a doctor. He was a sergeant, with the military. He gets injured in Afghanistan, shot in the leg, which is why he comes back, and he's on a pension, and so that's why he needs a flatmate, which is why he teams up with Holmes,
Mm.
because Holmes also needs a flatmate to bank rent. But they're adults. This though has them as kids at the same boarding school, essentially. Um, it's it's interesting. But it's a
What?
solid
Okay,
movie.
I got this question for you. What is
Okay,
your favorite crappy movie from that time period that doesn't
a movie
hold
that
up,
just
that
doesn't
you
hold. It's
loved, but that you
objectively
know,
terrible.
like now looking back on it, sucked?
See, here's the problem. It's kind of a lot of them. Um, okay, ironically, well, I know that one's like I said, all these movies have held up. If it's one that's sort of a
For me, it's Masters of the Universe.
oh yeah, never mind. Yeah,
Masters of
that's
the
my answer. Yeah,
Universe.
Masters of the Universe. It's a terrible film, but I
It's a
love it.
piece of shit, but I loved it, man.
Yeah, you're right. Courtney Cox's first movie, if I recall.
Courtney Cox, Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. Come on
As
now,
he
man.
never changes. Okay, so I was never a fan of He-Man. I never was, never have been. I couldn't care less about He-Man. And you're right, it's an absolutely terrible movie. None of those characters are from the cartoon or the comic that they made or from the
Well,
toys.
I thought they had
None
Man at Arms. I thought Man at Arms was that guy. That was Man at
was
Arms. Yeah,
was
Man
that
at
supposed
Arms
to be
and
Man at
Tila.
Arms?
Yeah,
Was that supposed to be Tila?
yeah.
Hold on, I'll look that up. But yeah, you're right.
But
It's
that's supposed to be Man
again,
at Arms. And then they have the sorceress in there.
yeah.
Yeah, he never turns into Adam though.
No, he
Never
never
once.
turns like none of it. Hold on, was that Man at
And
Arms
apparently they don't have fried chicken in Eternia.
or whatever that character was?
Remember when they were eating fried chicken? And they're like, "What is this? It's so good." And then what are these little
Yeah,
white things? And the Man at Arms is like, "It's the bone." And everyone's like, "Ew, these were creatures." And then
yeah.
yeah, but I was
Franklin Gella. I mean,
yeah, Skeletor.
yeah. I mean, Skeletor was good, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's Franklin Gella, and he's playing Skeletor. Dolph Lundgren. Again, it's a terrible, absolutely terrible film, but I do love it. Um,
Another crappy movie that I loved was Critters. Remember,
dude, dude. I'll tell you, I think Critters holds up. I don't
really?
think it's yeah. Well, okay. So here's
It's
I will say this.
silly, but I love me some Critters, baby. I love me some Critters.
I love the fact that every once in a while they would actually talk, like the critters would talk to each other, and they had
Oh yeah.
subtitles.
Remember when they try to be like, hey,
Mhm.
one was like, "Hey, like this is a pile of hamburgers. It's got no bones," and then they all start chowing down on these hamburgers. That was
Yeah,
in Critters 2, I believe. Remember the bounty hunters
yeah. The
that were
bounty
like
hunters.
clean
Oh, I love
shaved?
them.
Those
Yeah,
bounty hunters were awesome, man. Yeah, I love me
dude, I
some
love the bounty
Critters.
hunters. I love the critter series. I'm sorry. You're right. Okay, it is terrible. But here's the thing. I do think it felt the reason I give it. I won't say it's terrible. I do think it holds up a little bit. Is with the one caveat of it's supposed to be schlocky.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be like
Yeah.
everything
As
was
a
like,
kid, you
oh,
like it.
it's campy, it's schlock. Yes, that's what it's supposed to be. It's like don't complain when a cartoon's a cartoon. Don't complain when Hamlet kills him. When Hamlet gets everybody killed. It's like, well, I think Hamlet's over dramatic. It's Shakespeare. It's supposed to be a melodramatic, right?
So
Like, yeah, Critters, love that
let
movie.
me ask you this, Jason. What is your favorite singular monster movie? Monster slash horror movie, I guess.
All right, that's a hard one because I want it to be the original Godzilla so bad,
Hmm.
but I do love me some Creature from the Black Lagoon. And okay, my favorite one, Godzilla 1985.
Yeah, that was up there for me. It was up there. Yeah. It
Yeah,
was up there.
because like I mean, I'm tempted to
Because
say
we were
Alien.
5 years old at the time. We were 4 or
Yeah,
5.
4 or 5.
So
Yeah.
when you see those effects as a freaking kindergartner, you're just like, "What the
What the
fuck?"
heck? And of course,
I
I
remember when
you
I
know
first saw it at, like, 5 years old, I was like, my
Raymond
yeah,
Burr. Yeah,
my brain was
like it's a
melting.
great movie. Yeah, you're right. Again, like it's Godzilla, but they've got a little bit more going on as far as the technology. It's it's
It's
well
scarier.
done. It's scarier. It is. So yeah, I think from that time period, I'd have to say it's Godzilla 1985. But here's the thing: like I want to say Alien. Again, horror, sort of horror monster film. Guess what? You can throw Predator in that mix. Um, there's a lot again. The Monster Squad, you could argue, is, even though again it's campy, right? Because it's supposed to be. It's based on the
Yeah.
Universal monsters, is what they were doing. So it's supposed to be campy. You could throw. I think you could legitimately throw Monster Squad in that mix. But yeah, for me, it's Godzilla 1985.
That one was up there for me for sure. That one I'd say that is the one monster movie that affected me the most because of
Yeah.
my age and when I saw it and how it just kind
Mm-hmm.
of took
Yep.
me on this path of, like, monster obsession.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, dude. Godzilla and actually seeing a living pterodactyl, or pterosaurs, are probably the two things that give me my love of kaiju and monsters in general. Although a close second, even though it happens much later in my life, Mummy, the Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
What about Jaws? People would say that's the greatest monster movie, one of the greatest of all time.
Like I'm gonna okay again from an objective standpoint. Yes, I don't think 1985 or Godzilla 1985 is the best monster movie of all time.
It's not, but it
It's not.
affected us the most.
Again, we're talking about
Yeah,
what VCR, what VCH or VHS tapes did we wear out? Godzilla
I wore that
1985.
out.
That's my whole
Yeah,
point. Like this isn't about objectively, because yeah,
yeah.
monster movies, Jaws, one of the best monster movies ever made.
I didn't wear that VHS tape out. I didn't wear it
Yeah,
out. Nope.
no, not at
I
all.
wore out the
I
Godzilla one.
Dude, I can't even. I don't know. I know I've seen Jaws all the way through once, but honestly, it's like, hey, do you want to watch Jaws? Eh,
I'll tell you the other 2 Godzilla movies that I wore out, the VHS tapes, was,
okay,
Son of Godzilla and
okay,
Godzilla vs. King Kong. The first one,
yeah,
remember the original one.
yeah, the original,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I'll give that to you. I watched that one as well, but I had a lot. Like I've recorded a lot of those movies, like a lot of them. So yeah, but yeah, 1985 is
Yeah.
that's me. That's
Okay,
yeah.
here's another shitty movie that I loved, American Ninja. Do you remember those movies?
That movie was terrible, and I loved it so much.
It
Yes,
was yes.
the series, it was awful. Okay,
It was
okay,
awful, but I loved it.
a truly awful movie based on an awful Stephen King movie that I watched way too much. Overdrive.
I never saw
Maximum.
that.
They it is a horror film about
Hmm.
a truck, an 18-wheeler that is possessed or whatever, and it literally has the face of the Green Goblin from Marvel Comics on the front of it.
Mm.
Like that's what it's supposed to be.
That
It's
reminds
not
me,
like it just looks like, no, that's what it is.
another horrible movie that I loved, another shitty movie that I loved, Over the Top. Remember that one?
I do.
The arm
I
wrestling one?
haven't watched the arm wrestling one. Yeah, I know. Honestly, I remember it more from like memes than the actual movie,
Oh man, I love
because it is terrible. I get
that
it.
was prime 80s. Prime
Oh,
80s.
Prime. We want again. We got to wrap this up. But Prime 80s. Uh oh, I just forgot the name. He plays the bouncer. Uh,
Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. Yeah, Roadhouse.
Dude.
I'm
Okay.
yeah. You can't tell me it gets more 80s
My
than that
my
film.
last episode was on Psychic Kung Fu, and in my thumbnail, I did an image of a shadow person, but the person, like,
Yeah.
kung fu posing was Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. and
I
no
get
one
it.
got the bit because he played Ghost. I'm like, come
Yeah, I get
on,
it.
man, nobody figured that out. I was bummed out.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I was going to
Okay,
watch it
so
tonight.
we've been going on for about an hour and a half. I think we should
We should definitely call it into it. But you know
call an
what
end to it. But
surprises me?
before we do you have any final words on or final thoughts, Jason McLean, on movies from this time period?
How did we miss Ghostbusters?
There's too many because then we could go into Die Hard.
Yeah,
We could
then we
go
get.
into
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah,
it was the one, but again, it's the ones that we burned up. You got the
yeah,
never-ending story.
never-ending
You've got
story,
again, like you said,
Labyrinth,
it wasn't the Labyrinth,
Willow,
Willow, the Dark Crystal. I'm
Dark
sorry, Dark
Crystal.
Crystal, dude. Dark Crystal's as good as it gets on any. That's what I'm saying. Like these are the movies that shaped
How about
us.
this one? How
Those
about this one,
classics.
Jason McLean? Akira.
So here's the thing: I ran into Akira much later in life. That's why I didn't put it on,
Oh,
even though it's
okay.
from that time frame.
Yeah.
I ran into it much later in life. That's why I'm like, that's why I didn't put it on the list. But yeah, it's like the Labyrinth, but the Dark Crystal. I'm sorry, Dark Crystal was my favorite Jim Henson film of all time. It still holds up.
Pee-wee's Big
Ghostbusters, Never Ending
Adventure,
Story.
man.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Holy crap, dude! Large Marge.
Come on, man.
And the dinosaur. Okay, so the dinosaur models they use on that one, like the big ones. I don't know if it's the same
Oh,
ones, but we have
actually,
some like that out in Glen Rose, and I love them to
I'll
death.
tell you my favorite 80s dinosaur movie. Do you remember Baby?
Yes.
Baby.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that movie.
I love that movie.
And it's a cryptozoological movie too.
That's Mokili Membe right there, baby.
Mokele Membe, yes.
Yeah. All right. So my final thoughts before we sign out. The thing I loved and appreciated the most about 80s movies was the random boob shot. We all know what I'm talking about.
Just
Because
no
I was
reason for it to be there.
also at one point a fan of Steven Seagal movies.
Yep.
And in Steven Seagal movies, he would be like running away from the bad guys. They're all shooting at him. And he goes into a random door. And there's like this topless woman there who's like, and she covers herself up. But it's like, it shows like a topless scene for no fucking reason at all. Just to have boobs.
Yeah. Die Hard has one where
The random boob shot.
The woman's not even in the building. It's in
like
the building.
It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. My favorite random boob shot of any movie was in Demolition Man.
Yes.
When Sylvester Stallone is just randomly gets video called and his lady's all naked and she's like, "Hey, I'm ready." And she's like, "Whoops, wrong number." And you can even see the look in Sylvester Stallone's eyes. He's just like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
Exactly. Like looking around.
He was like, he just shakes it like, what was that? Yeah, the random topless woman in the 80s.
Random
movie.
boobs.
You're right.
The random
boobs.
That's why the 80s was the best decade in all of history, because it was the only decade where they would just randomly show you boobs.
Well, Demolition Man was the 90s. So, but
no, but like 80s movies was filled with that. They always had like one or two random boob shots.
Yeah, for no reason.
Random boobs.
Yep.
Random boobs.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, in fact, I was actually thinking about that the other day. It's like, we don't just have random boobs anymore in movies, which I appreciate. But at the same time, it's like, why was that? Why did that stand for so long?
It's just the randomness of it all, you know? It just comes out from the sky, just out of nowhere. It'll have nothing to do with the movie or the context of what's going on.
At all.
And all of a sudden, they'll just turn a corner and bam, random boobs.
Yep.
And they'll be like, "Oh, okay," and then they'll just go back to what they were doing.
Comedies, action movies, like you said, there's again
0 point.
There is 0 point for that to be. Again, Die Hard is the most egregious of it because there's zero reason for him to take a moment to scope out some random chick. Like you're in the middle of a life and death situation, and you're spotting some random chick's boobs. Like, what's going on here?
Random boobs.
So yeah, you're right. I really was thinking about the other day too. It's like, why don't we why was that a thing in movies where it's like random boobs and that's it.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you're right.
that's the takeaway tonight, folks. Random boobs. Good night, folks.